One of the team asked me to speak a little bit about company strategy. Of course, there's two strategies in Swiss use. There's a product strategy, and Annette will speak a little bit about product later. And then there's the commercial strategy, and I'm going to share a little bit about that. If Juan, if you can unshare, please, so I can share mine. Thank you. So let me start with this. A good strategy in general has to be a simple strategy. If a strategy requires 5 pages of words to be understood, then it's probably not a great strategy. The second thing that a strategy should have ideally is to be more or less universal, that it applies to most people, and to be more or less constant. I mean, there might be tools that change, but the general strategy will evolve over time, but not change every single year. And hence, a good strategy, and in this case, a good commercial strategy, has to be based on people and behaviors rather than specific tools. So that's what we try to do with this. So let me start by saying that we've tried to boil down our whole strategy into 6 points. And hopefully those 6 points cover our whole commercial strategy. So I'm going to share my presentation now, if I can. Here we go. And I'm going to start with point number 1. Like I said, we have 6 aspects to our strategy. And the first one is probably the most important one, I would say, because it's the point on which everything is born out of. And this one is what we call a strategy of abundance. Abundance is the opposite of poverty, of course. So to explain the concept of abundance, let me start by going backwards in time and giving a little bit of historical context. The direct selling industry boomed in the 80s and the 90s. That was the beginning of a big splurge of growth. If you can imagine women, and I speak specifically of women because at the time direct selling was mostly about women. Women at the time, compared to women today, were radically different. The use of their time was different. Their lives were different. There were less women who would go into the traditional workforce to an 8-to-5 job. Less women would have so many activities. Many women were taking care of their kids. Then once their kids would grow and go into school, they would have spare time. They wanted to make use of that spare time. And a good way of using that time and making it productive was joining a direct selling company. Back in those days, typically Avon and Mary Kay and Pampered Chef and Longaberger, very traditional companies, many of which have now actually disappeared. And I think you will understand why they've disappeared. When women had that amount of free time, the requirement of financial productivity they would have from the hours spent doing that business were very little. Why would people not demand more? Because their option was staying at home and not making any money. So if they made a little bit of money selling a few products door to door, then it was a good idea. If you jump 50 years, from 1980 to 2022, it's a radically different world for women. Most women study, most women go into let me call this a traditional job from 8 to 5. So they are busy, they are time constrained. And if you add to their work the family activities, these days compared to back then, there are so many more activities for kids, driving them here and there, and soccer and practices, plus the own activities that women want for themselves. Call this Pilates or yoga or church or whatever it is. The point I want to make is everybody is time strapped. So if you want to invite somebody to a direct selling opportunity, it has to be an opportunity where the amount of money they make, given the amount of hours they're spending doing it, has to be very attractive. So it doesn't mean everybody has to work 100 hours. It means that some people might choose to work 4 hours a week, but the money they make in those 4 hours a week has to be very attractive for 4 hours. In that way, they will stay because they have an option to do something different. So it is fundamental to have an activity where the amount of dollars per hour that people are making is attractive to make them stay. Maybe in the beginning, they will stay for a few hours, and eventually they will spend more hours because it is profitable and more, and eventually they might even end up doing this full time or not. But it has to be abundant as in financially attractive given the amount of time I spend. But to be able to truly be abundant, there are some things that a company needs. You need to offer a product that is more or less high in price. If you're selling $10 lipstick, it doesn't matter if the plan makes 30% or 40% of personal sales. 40% of $10 is $4, nothing. So to start off, you need products that are on the higher range of pricing. But of course, they have to be good because people will spend $40 on a product and expect a good result, of course. So the first thing that we have that allows us to speak of abundance is a product that is expensive or higher priced than many other companies, but it's good enough that people will buy it and want to buy it again. The second thing that we can offer is products that are of recurring use. If you sell, a big set of, whatever, super expensive pots and pans, people will pay for that, but they will buy the next set of pots and pans in 15 years. Whereas if you're buying the Ointim or Vital Used or many of our other products, these are expensive products of good quality of recurring use. Now you're getting into the area of potential abundance to the product. And the second thing you need is a system under which you can meet new people all the time. In direct sales, it's not about the people, it's about your ability to meet new people. And there are many ways to meet new people. And we have a number of avenues for that. But most of the party plan companies like us have one key method, which once again is not the only method, but it's a key method, which is of course the host plan, where a consultant can have a customer who buys a product, loves the product, wants to buy another product, but doesn't want to spend the money on the second product for whatever good reason. And the consultant will say, I will help you get that product for free if you bring your friends together to the house, bring your friends together on Zoom, share the link, many different ways of giving somebody a benefit for referring other people to you. So abundance comes from the product, the pricing, and the ability to meet new people. The second aspect of our commercial strategy is the understanding that success will come from a combination of things. It cannot come from only one thing. And that combination is motivation and healthy practices. When somebody is highly motivated and they are excited and happy and really want to do it and be great at it, but they have no idea how to do it, then motivation alone is not enough. I always say it's a bit like when you pour a beer, the foam goes up and it goes down again. Motivation on its own is not enough. Oppositely, healthy practices means that you know how to sell, how to sponsor, how to meet new people, how to share the opportunity, how to explain the products. All those things are healthy practices. Now, if somebody is a champion of healthy practices, they can demonstrate a product like nobody. They can close a sale, they can meet new people, but they're not motivated, then they're not going to go anywhere either. So we think that success will come from the ability of people to have a combination of motivation and healthy practices. And they are very combined, because what happens in the end is that when you have healthy practices, you do well. Because you do well, you get motivated. Because you get motivated, you spend more effort doing that thing. Because you spend more effort and you're doing it properly, then you do better and you become more motivated. So in the end, these are intrinsically combined. That's why this plus sign you see on the screen is the most important part of this second bullet point. It's the combination of motivation and healthy practices. The third aspect, which is hugely important, is what we call simple and duplicatable. Simple and duplicatable. And Juan touched on this a few seconds ago, and we'll have more on this later. But basically, the logic here is people are time-strapped, like I said in the beginning. So people will want to stay in a business where they do very well, very fast. Now, to be able to do well, you have to have healthy practices. To be able to deliver those healthy practices, you need to learn. If the learning curve is long, i.e., it takes a lot of time to do things properly, and hence it takes a lot of time to make good money, then people will leave on their second month. So the whole point of this is, how can we get new people to learn fast and to learn in a way that when they have somebody else join their team, they can teach that person without me having to participate, then that person can teach the next person. And by the time it's chain link number 5, what the number 5 person is learning is quite similar to what I taught the first person. That is duplication. Now, to have duplication, you have to have a simple business. If the business is complicated, duplication doesn't work, because it's like a telephone conversation with a lot of sound in the middle. The conversation gets broken in the middle. So it has to be a simple business. But not only does it have to be simple, it has to look simple. And this is where people sometimes miss the trick. If it's really easy to do the business, but people can't see that it's easy to do the business, they won't have the impression that it's easy. And maybe they will not put their hand up and ask for, the magic question. How did you start? How did you learn? how do initial kits work. So just like it's important for it to be simple, it has to look simple. And that brings me to the sub-bullet there that said, if you can read, you can do it. Our theory is that the business has to be simple and has to be seen as being simple. And hence, if you're doing a wellness event, a spa, then you should be seen reading the quick guide. The reason you want to be seen reading it is not only to do it properly without having to memorize the content, but more importantly, for the other people to see that you're reading and this was easy. And if I decided eventually to join, well, I can read, why can I not do this? And this applies to everything we do. A sponsoring interview. So you're going to have a sponsoring interview with a potential new person. If that person sees that you're running the whole interview by heart because you memorized and you're the champion of doing good interviews, they will go, I will probably join, but I don't think I can be as good as this person doing this. They have this charisma and they have this, they know this thing, they speak like they pour it out of their heart. Oppositely, if they're seeing that I'm following a simple guide that I'm reading out of, and I'm doing the interview and I have this little list like I have here. When I spoke strategy in the beginning, I had this little piece of paper so I wouldn't forget anything. And I'm showing this to you and I'm telling you it's easy to do what I do because I read out of this. So the point of simple and duplicatable is being simple, looking simple to be able to duplicate. In this business, trust me on this one, we grow when we are able to duplicate. And people I don't know do the things that I taught the person I know how to do. And the chain continues to develop in this healthy way where people are doing similar practices, which are, of course, the healthy practices. That's the concept of simple and duplicatable. The third one, so let me go back to this. Here we are. So we covered these three. The fourth one has to do with leadership. And it's been proven, and oftentimes when I speak and I share these concepts, this doesn't only come from what I've seen at Swiss. One of the things that my job requires me to do, of course, is to be very much in contact with the industry, with my peers from other companies, from other countries, from other places, and try and learn from them. And we learn a lot from each other. I'm part of a direct selling association in the US. I'm part of the chairman, the CEO committee. I'm part of the party plan group. And the same in different places. And this concept of leadership by example is not something that Swiss invented by no means. It's something that everybody agrees on, which is that in this day and age where everything is about transparency and trust, and people can see everything we do because there's social media and there's all the many tools there are, the only way to lead people, and let's define leadership. There are many definitions to leadership. My personal favorite is leadership is my ability to influence other people to do things that will bring them success. Let me repeat that one. Leadership, or positive leadership, is the ability to influence other people to do what's going to bring them success. That's my favorite definition of leadership. And it's absolutely true that in what we do, the only way to lead, i.e. to influence other people, is to do the things that I am telling them they should be doing. And this has always been the case, but in today's world, even more, because everybody sees everything. So if I meet a friend and my friend says, I've been reading a lot, I'm very much into healthy eating, and I'm balancing, my carbs and my proteins, and I'm trying to, eat lean and eat balanced, and I found this triangle or circle with the different groups, etc. And I'm trying, and they give me all this spiel about their healthy eating, and then I go on Instagram or on Facebook or on TikTok, and everything I see is them, sharing this incredible Kentucky Fried Chicken meal. Then there's no way that person is going to influence me. Well, in direct sales, it's the same. If I tell people you should have high personal sales, and when the recognition comes out, they see I sell 750, then my leadership abilities have disappeared. If I tell people they should be using social media in a certain way, and I'm not using social media in that specific way, there is no leadership. So if you define leadership as influencing people to do what's good for them, you have to be doing it first. In many cases of direct selling, people who have had huge success and then either taper off or drop is because they forget to lead by example. They stop doing the practices that made them big in the beginning, and now they're in this I teach, I lead by teaching, I give training, I go on Zoom and I explain to people everything they should be doing. And when you just explain and not do it, people know and they're not influenced. That's why we think it's so important. It's actually one of our 6 key strategy points to lead by example, which then takes me to the next one, which is training. A lot of what we do in direct sales is training people. Now, when you say training, what people automatically think is either we meet in my house and I explain, or somebody walks on stage and explains, or somebody sits on Zoom and explains, and it's class. So teaching is like school, like college. Well, we believe that the best way to train in Swiss use is training in real life situations. What we always say, you learn while I earn. You learn while I earn. So say somebody in my team wants to learn how to do a better wellness event at an office that I drop into an office, and during the 40-minute lunch break, I'm going to give a demonstration of the product. And somebody in my team says, oh, I have no idea how to do that. I would love to learn. I can either sit with them and explain for hours, and then I waste a lot of my time because I'm just explaining. And remember, we're about abundance, so making a lot of money per hour. Every minute you spend on the business counts. So I'm explaining and using my time. And that person is hearing theory, just the story of how it's done. Oppositely, if I say you want to learn how to do a wellness event in an office in a 40-minute lunch break, come with me next Thursday and you'll see how I do it, which means you come, you don't speak, you learn, you look, and I'm making money at the same time. That's why this principle is very much connected to the previous one, to the simple and duplicatable one. Because at the end of the day, to the lead by example one. Because if what I'm doing is training in real life and influencing people to do what brought me success and is going to bring them success, then I am leading by example. That's why when you start looking at the strategy and you say training in real life situations is a way of leading by example and influencing people, and if I do that leadership or that training in a way that is simple and looks simple, then that person is going to do the same way I did. That's duplicatable. So now you see that the strategy is very much interconnected. It starts with the abundance. It then flows on to the practice combined to the motivation. And these 3 are very much combined. And the final point, and this is probably the point that can vary over time a little bit, it might even vary a little bit between countries, which is healthy practices. Point 2 was success is motivation plus healthy practice. What are healthy practices? Well, healthy practices can vary a little bit over time, but fundamentally healthy practices, and this is the end of my strategy. These are the 6 points. What I'm going to do now is just give a little bit of detail on point number 6, which is healthy practices. And number 1 is probably the most important one. There's got to be a way in which you meet new people all the time. Anybody who in the last 30 days has not met or developed new customers is going backwards. And why would I be going backwards? Well, because customers move, leave, change their minds, find somebody else. That's normal. So that has to be compensated with new people, and growth has to come from new people. So there are many ways to meet new people. You can meet new people at your job. But truth is, at your job, it's more or less the same people. You can sign up for yoga classes and meet new people. But then it's the same people who go to yoga every Tuesday and Thursday with you. So there's got to be a way to meet new people continuously. And there are many ways to do it. The main way that we like to meet new people, which doesn't mean it's the only way of meeting new people or has to be 100% of your sales, are wellness events. Now, of course, there are different types of wellness events. There are the traditional party, in somebody's house, there's a host and a group of friends. That happens less and less. There still is some. But the more modern way of doing that is, inserting yourself, i.e. the consultant, into places where people already are. I just use the example of a lunch break in an office, a Starbucks get together after yoga. I use the yoga example. Mothers waiting for their kids at a soccer practice. So those are places where there are people who already are there. And if I can carve out 30 minutes, 40 minutes of their time for a wellness event, then I'm meeting new people. And chances are some of those people will like a product, will buy it, will want to buy a second product, will not want to spend that money, and I can convince them of introducing me to their friends. And when I end up selling to their friends, they get a benefit, either the host plan or social selling, but different ways of meeting new people. And wellness events is one of the key ones. And that's why we have the quick guide, and we'll speak more, somebody else will speak more about the quick guide later. And the quick guide is directly connected to the strategy, which is simple and duplicatable. If you're reading the quick guide, people see the business is simple and they will want to potentially join. I always say that if you can, most of us have been in this business for a while, but if you can extricate yourself from your present and imagine it's the first time in life you come in contact with Swiss Used and you're going to a wellness event, chances are the first thing you're going to be thinking is, am I wasting my time or is this a good product? So question number one is always going to be, is this product decent or not? And chances are, if the consultant does a good job and she applies the lavender essential oil on your Kleenex and you can smell it, and you try the oil 31 and it is true, you feel better and so on and so forth. Barrier number one, which is this product decent, will be checked. The second thing that is probably going to happen is if the person is in need of an opportunity, they will go, is this gal making any good money? They won't know how much money the consultant is making, of course. But if she sees that there are 5 people who spend, whatever, $75 each, she will go, this looks like she's making good money because there was a lot of sales in this little amount of time. So barrier one is this product decent? Check. Is this gal making interesting money so that maybe I would be interested in doing? Check. And question number 3 is a magic one, which is, could I do this? Is this easy? And if the way the person is doing the business makes it look easy, i.e. she's reading the quick guide, chances are question 3 will be checked too. Because if she can read, I can read too. That's where this connects. The other, so this is one of the many guides we have. Social selling. Of course, there are different avenues to social selling, the sharing links, sending people to a website. There are many ways, but social selling is a natural way to sell and to bring new people into your line of business. If what's going to happen is a sponsored interview, we should be reading the guide. If you're going to be doing a host planning guide, we should be reading the guide. And once again, I won't walk you through the detail of each one of these. It's the principle. You want to do the business in a way that is simple and looks simple. And that's why we have different guides for different practices. This last one is a really important one, which has to do with our product line. The way our product line is defined and the way the product line works the best is when a consultant sits with a customer. Sits means sits, meets in person, meets on the phone, is in contact with a customer. And that consultant opens her ears, 2 ears, 1 mouth, double ears than the amount of mouths we have. And she listens to the customer and she probes the customer. And she uses the need cards, these that you see on the right of the screen, which of course is the digital version, and the paper version, same thing. Uses the need cards for people to self-identify what their needs are. People are dying to tell us their issues, dying, just try this. Ask anybody, how do you feel? What would make you feel better? And they'll start for 20 minutes. So the secret here is to listen to the customer, to probe the customer, and to actually sell to that customer what they need. Now, of course, if it's on promotion, great. But this kind of practice, which is listening and probing and identifying the needs, is rarely different to seeing what's on sale for the next 3 days and just selling that. If you're only selling promotion, then it's a very narrow potential business. If you're selling, covering needs, and if it's on promotion, great, then you have an abundant business. Social media. Social media is becoming more and more of a fundamental avenue for us. But I believe that social media is one of the most wonderful conversation starters there is out there. At the end of the day, when we post online, and this can be, of course, on whatever platform, I'm talking Instagram, I'm talking Facebook, I'm talking TikTok, you will be talking to people who know you, and eventually you will be talking to people who do not know you. And of course, if my feed is a pain in the butt, because it's always sales, promotion, nobody's going to listen to me, and the algorithm will hide me from everybody. But if my content is interesting, I speak about products, and I speak about ingredients, and I speak about life stories, and I share cool videos, and I share how my family uses the product, etc., I will build a following of people I know and people I don't know. And people in that following who I haven't met will click the famous DM message and get in contact with me. So we have to see social media as a way to meet new people by being a micro influencer in a certain way, not pester people with my benefit, but oppositely, see how you can serve people to build that following, and people will talk to you. And when they talk to you, that's the beginning, of course, of everything else that we do. And finally, of course, it all 10 years, 15 years ago, I can't remember how long it was. Yeah, maybe 15 years ago, we started with personal websites where a consultant could sell online, but that has evolved into something a lot bigger these days, where the personal website is fed from the social media feeds, and there's the customer club. In the customer club, if you look at our numbers, the customer club has never not grown from 1 month to the next. Never, ever, ever in history. It's up, 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 up. So clearly, there is a benefit there. So these practices that I'm sharing with you here are the practices that work across the world. Any party plan company you find out there will tell you that you have to go and meet people where they are. They will tell you about social selling. They will tell you that people are time strained, and hence you have to be brief and you have to be interesting and you have to try the in-person, but you also have to try the virtual ways of meeting people. And some people want to meet virtually only, that's fine. Some people want to meet personally only, that's fine. Some people will vary. Sometimes it will vary over time. I won't go to anybody's place to meet you if I don't know you, but you can have me virtually. And once I try the products and like the products, maybe I do want to meet for a facial treatment and see how that line works. But this is what the whole industry, not in the Americas, in Americas and in Europe, is experiencing. People still want to try the products, but they are time strained, and you got to work on them little by little. So I will close with a very short recap. We started with poverty versus abundance, where we choose abundance, of course, and that is measured in how much money you make per hour, or the people who join make per hour. We talked that success will come from the combination of motivation and the healthy practices, that the business has to be simple, be seen as simple to do, and that's what is going to make it duplicatable. And the motto is, if you can read it, you can do it. You want to lead by example. You want to train in real life situations, not in the theory of a void Zoom classroom environment. And finally, healthy practices, which we covered in some depth. So I hope that was interesting and useful. And back to the team. Thank you.